What? People are giving negative views about my Zelu drawing?
What? I don't believe it! Kidding.
It's just as I expected.
The best example is whitewashing. This term is typically used when a person makes a character whiter or lighter than they actually are. Its actual definition would be to completely change the race of a character from any given minority, or just any other race, to be honest, that isn't Caucasian, to a Caucasian appearance. But there's a massive caveat to this statement. This rule does not apply the other way around. You see, if you make characters that were a different race and swapped it, then it doesn't really matter as long as the character does not end up white.
Why did I make that post? Why did I make another post? Why did I do any of it? Soon enough, you'll all find out. But just be warned, the content and people in this video are all
Rated R for retarded.
You know, typically I have a script for all of this, but I think I'm just gonna talk off script. Not because there's any special reason, I just don't really feel the need to make a script on this. I've already talked to this in my first video on that. I've already kind of talked about it in another video. So, when you think about it, I've kind of already addressed the reason why I've done this. But for everyone still wondering why exactly I did this, I'll keep it short and give it the answer right away. I did it because I knew I'd get this reaction. I did it because I knew people would complain. I did it because I knew people would be upset. I did it because I knew people would be hypocrites. That's why I did it. Now, some of you might be thinking, what do I mean by hypocrites? Well, it's quite simple really. When I do it in this manner, it's a problem. But when somebody else does it in a different manner, it's not a problem. And I think you need to understand the reason why this is such a big problem. The average person doesn't actually think the way these online people do. Like, I only really got into Twitter kind of recently, and when I've been seeing all of this nonsense that keeps happening over and over, it's just kind of, stupid, in my opinion. It's like, I remember one time, there's a whole drama about the Inkling and all of that, drama about Knuckles and all of that, drama about the Dada and all of that. It's an endless repeating cycle, where there'll always be someone doing it, and there'll always be someone complaining. So now you're probably wondering why I would do that. Why would I add to this fire if I knew that it's endless cycle? For starters, to address that point, yeah, I'm black. Regardless of who says I'm not. Regardless of who says, oh, he's laughing. No, I'm black. Secondly, no matter what you think, no, I'm not racist. I don't believe people should be differentiated, discriminated against, and treated differently because of the way the skin color looks and due to their origin or ethnicity. I don't believe that's the reason. I don't believe that's the way people should be treated. So, again, I don't think of myself as a racist. If other people want to think I'm a racist, I can't control your minds. You can think that. Finally, in this first little segment here, I have to say that the reaction I've seen was, although I say I expected this, there was some unexpected variables, I should say, that I did not foresee. And that led to the most interesting results. But, again, this is just the main introduction. Said that, let's get on to the next part. So, my logic and reasoning. It started when No, it started way before that. I was gonna say it started when I saw this Black Don Quixote post, but that's clearly not when it started. It started way, way, way before that. When I was first introduced to the concept of blackwashing and whitewashing. And in my head, I thought something that was maybe the most mundane take, most benign take anyone can make, and I simply thought, well, why does any of that matter? I make a character black, I make a character white, it shouldn't matter. So to me, the whole situation felt artificial and forced. People are pushing for some kind of racism angle, but you ever thought to consider that maybe I just changed the design in order to fit a better color palette? You ever thought they could have changed the design because they felt like, I didn't want them to be that way? It's not always a racist or racial undertone. Sometimes it really just is the way it is. They just simply didn't like it the way it was, and now they changed it. So I feel like that's something I want to highlight, that not every instance of this is going to be a form of racism. It's just not. When people's hair color changes a little bit from character design to character design, you won't say this some kind of erasure of a culture, because different cultures have different hair colors too, and different people have different hair colors. It's genetic, so you wouldn't call it that some kind of erasure of people. Yet when it comes to this, it's always divisive. And as I said in my video, the previous one, that it was never really about the color changing at all. It's not because people want their character designs to be consistent. Rather, they just wanted them to not be white.
And that, in my opinion, is just very sad, honestly. I'm a black man myself, so maybe I'm not really fully clued in, but I never really understood the way people were so distasteful towards people being white. I mean, if you watch, for example, Japanese media, Japanese anime, you should expect them to be Japanese. So, why is it that when someone makes their black version of a character, when someone says they're not black, everyone thinks they're attacking them because of a racism issue? If you had function in eyes, you can see that the character's colors isn't matching up, and that could just be a basic analysis and say, well, clearly there's two different colors here, and they'll scream and cry racism. Of course, such things don't happen the opposite way around, as we can see with the black Don Quixote drawing, as we see with the black Ishmael drawing, as we see with the black Chesed drawing. It just goes on. They're just getting praise upon praise. And honestly, I wouldn't mind people doing this. That's what people don't understand. I wouldn't mind if people did this. I never cared about if people did this in the first place. What I care about is why. Why is it always becoming a racial issue? Just think about that for a moment. If you are so brain rotted when you see a character black and a character white, you have the propensity to think that the white is some kind of oppressor, some evil character, whilst the black one is submissive and, what's the word? Not in an advantageous position, so they're disadvantaged. That's racism. You've become so anti-racist that you've become racist anyway. You now think that all black people are disadvantaged, that all black people need help, and that all white people are oppressors. You're just racist. Now, just through the lens of people that think they're not racist. You ask someone a few years back, what do you think about black people? They'll say they think they're not smart. When I mean a few years back, I mean many years back, where like racism was actually like prevalent properly. It would be like, oh, black people aren't very smart, and then people, they don't know how to count, they don't know how to read, they aren't really intelligent. I can't be asked to help them people. Those people don't deserve our help. Come to the modern day. What do we see in America? They think that black people are so unintelligent that they have to offer them lower grades to get into schools. They think that black people are so unintelligent that they make free offers for them to get into universities. They think black people are so unintelligent that they can't understand that ghetto culture is wrong and just think it's part of their culture, and thus stereotype all black people to ghetto culture, when in reality most black people that's reasonable doesn't even want to associate with ghetto culture. So it just begs the question, who's the racist here? Me? Or you? Yeah, I made some characters that was black, white. Yeah, I've made some characters that's black into many other colors, to be honest. I don't post everything I make. I've made lighter skinned characters darker whenever I felt like it. I've drawn characters with wrong hair colors, wrong proportions, wrong everything. Why? Because I can draw whatever I want, really. Of course, freedom of action isn't freedom of consequence, but it would just be disingenuous to assume that everything I was doing was with malintent, as people might think. But I must make this short admittance. Yeah, I did this fully, knowing fully well what I was doing. I did it for the pure reason that someone else made it black. And the reason why I really wanted to capitalize at this moment in time was just to point out the hypocrisy. That's it. So, if people are claiming I did this out of spite, yeah, you're not even half wrong. So, that's one thing. The people that try to think that was me, sorry, no. It's albino, sorry, Zulu. And for those that don't know what albino is, it's kind of like a genetic... They call it genetic disorder is a bit of a stretch, but in humans it's not really advantageous. But it's when things and pigments in the skin isn't really functioning as it should be and makes everything appear lighter. So in black people, they appear to have like blondish, kind of yellow, frail hair. The skin will be white and the eyes kind of be grey. But in some bunnies and rabbits and all of that, they look white with red eyes. And hence where probably Mio gets her design from. So I could see the confusion. Mio is probably based off an albino rabbit, and I thought that, well, Ziru is also meant to be some kind of Haitian rabbit, so I said why not make her albino too, to match that theme. So I didn't just completely whitewash her for the sake of whitewashing her, because if I did that, then obviously I would have just kept the hair the same color. People might not have picked up on that. I could have kept the eye the same color, but I changed it too. So, I'll ask again. Who's the real racist? Me? Or you? Because I've seen comment sections and they quite surprised me. Saying white evil is either. White and evil, white demon, etc, etc, menendum, on and on and on, with the association with being white and evil. Why? Is being white evil? I personally don't think so. No matter what color anyone is, anyone has the same propensity to evil, in my opinion. So why do these guys keep pointing out that she's evil? Makes you think. Makes you wonder, what kind of lives you have to live to think this way? The amount of people I've seen critique the way I've made this drawing is numerous, is more than enough to describe them all. People have redrawn my drawing, which I did express curiosity about, given that I didn't know how they managed to make the colors so accurate to the original without changing too much of the drawing. But I digress. If this was only the extent of the reaction, then I anticipated it. However, there was quite a bit of weirder posts where people would then change the colors of different characters. So now I'm looking at Black Forest. What? People are calling her Black Queen, Black Princess, etc, etc. Again, I wouldn't mind that, but if you consider the fact that I'm getting flamed for what I did, it begs the question, why is this person not at the very least being flamed for what they did?
See, I wouldn't mind it if we were both getting flamed together. Then I'll be quiet. I wouldn't mind. I would have, in fact, I would have made the drawing in the first place. But I knew that there was this bias. So I'll ask you again. Why must we call white evil? And why is being black good? You see, I'm not saying either is good or evil. I'm saying there's no difference. So why is one acceptable and why is the other not? The only answer to that is racism. That's all. I could keep talking, but I do want to make other drawings. You know, I was gonna actually make a Tamaki drawing before people started finding this one, but I decided against it, mainly because I've lost interest in it in that kind of sense. I don't really feel like doing another race swap anymore. So yeah, there you have it. Long, lengthy explanation why I did all that. You know, I do find it kind of cowardly and just lame that instead of being able to draw your own version, that these people have to change the color of someone else's drawing. Be it the original game's drawings, be it my drawings. They could even make their own, and I find that to be extremely lazy. Of course the art community is inconsistent on this, because if you change the color of someone else's drawing, then it's a massive problem and everyone's gonna get involved, but when you do it in this regard, it's okay. So, again, I can only leave you with these just thoughts put together, really. There's nothing already, there's no lesson here. I've already said the lesson before. They're hypocrites. You can't reason with these people. These people aren't reasonable. They simply feign ignorance or pretend to be stupid when you actually try and talk to them and engage in debate. And the reason for that is because the second they actually have to engage with their reasoning, they won't be able to keep up. They can't keep up. So, if you like this video, share it to everyone. Share it to everyone. Really. Anyone that actually cares. Even I, my interest is waning by the minute. Send it to someone who cares, really. Yeah, I mean, if you still think I'm racist after all of this, you can think that. That's your own prerogative. I don't really care. It's not my job. It's not my place to really care about that. But if you don't think I'm racist, you can watch the rest of my videos. The thumbnails are crazy, yeah, but you actually go into the video, I'm kind of somewhat, for the most part, against the thumbnail. Chris will deport you. The real video behind it was that political messaging shouldn't be in your media, so Chris wouldn't actually deport you. It's the point of that video. In the hero versus Negro thumbnail, the point there wasn't to say that black people can't be heroes. The point is that this guy was acting like the stereotypical black guy that people make fun of, hence calling him the Negro. And he fell into those stereotypes on his own accord. In another video, where I say you do not need representation, I draw Miles Morales becoming Aryan, I say better? No, the video itself I'm saying is not better. I'm saying that you don't need representation, as in you shouldn't have to race swap characters in that video. That's what I was trying to get at. And in the end, of course, people didn't watch all of those videos, saw the thumbnails, got disinterested, and that's okay. Because if people can formulate opinions without having to watch the video, you're allowed to do that, but don't talk as if you actually watched the video and know what I'm getting at. That's most of what I wanted to say. But there's one thing left for one of you. Yes, this person knows, that says and claims to know me. You just don't know me. You think you've been following me for a while, you just don't know anything. You don't even know the full story. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Pass this around. Like, subscribe, do whatever. I only upload kind of when I feel like it. Though maybe once a month. More than that if I can find more content, but don't get your hopes up. Talked long enough. I'm out.